Episode 21 JAMO. The answer. Take a minute and talk about what is courage. What does it mean to have courage, to be courageous? What does it mean to be brave? This week, our story is the story of David and Goliath. Now, if you'll remember from last week, David was anointed by the prophet Samuel to be God's next king, the next king of Israel. But see, anointing doesn't mean king, because right now the king is still Saul. And if Saul ever found out that David was supposed to be king, he'd be very upset. Now, at this time, the army of Israel, the people of Israel, were under attack by their enemies, the Philistines. Now, they were scary, they weren't very nice, and the Israelites didn't know how to fight them. Because you see, while the Philistines had an army, that wasn't the scariest part. The scariest part was Goliath. Goliath was a huge man who was 9 feet tall and towered over all of the soldiers of the Israelites. And the Israelites were all so scared, they didn't want to fight him. I'm not big enough, there's no way. And the king, Saul, said, I don't know how we're going to win this war. Who is going to fight him? And David said, I'll do it. Because David trusted God. David knew that God was going to take care of it. And everyone else, all the other soldiers were like, no, there's no way, you're too small. And Saul said, okay, because he was desperate. He wanted someone to stop the war. So he gave him all the big armor, and David said, this is too big. This isn't what I need. But you know what I need? I need 5 stones from the side of a creek. And so he went and he gathered those stones, and he listened and waited for God, because he knew that he wasn't going to win the war. God was. And so Goliath was getting ready, and he was there, and he was yelling at all the Israelite soldiers, hey, come get me. Who wants to fight me? And David said, I will. I'll stand up to you because I have God on my side. And looking at David and him being so small, how is it possible that he could win, that he could beat Goliath, who was so much taller and bigger than he was? But he did, because he had God on his side. And David defeated Goliath. And the difference is between Goliath and David is that God was there and he had a plan. Now, the point of this is kind of similar to how last week was, is that God chooses people that don't fit what we would think they needed to be. So instead of being big and strong, David needed to have a good heart, and he needed to love him. He wouldn't have been the first choice to fight Goliath. But you see, God's plan is his plan, and it's not ours. Because God looks inside. He looks for who we are and not what we look like. The end. Take a minute and practice trust falls. Talk about what it means to trust God and how David trusted God, that he would take care of him and help him defeat Goliath. Say a prayer thanking God for being there for David and for being there for us when we need him.